Hi, and welcome to the first video in the Lazy Animator Beginner's Guide to Cartoon Animator. This video focuses on the scene and saving projects, and we're just going to get straight into it and start exploring the user interface. So just to get started, Cartoon Animator itself is what's known as a scene editor. And that means that it's intended for animating single scenes, which you then export out as a video file and take into your video editing software, or you can export it into something like After Effects if you want to do additional post-processing. So this is the Cartoon Animator user interface, and I'm not going to describe everything on this screen in detail. We're just going to go through the process of how you would work, sort of logically accessing the various parts along the way, and you'll learn all this as we go. So in order to put a scene on the stage, you want to go to the Scene tab of the Content Manager. You can see down here, this whole window is the Content Manager and the tab selected here. And we're currently on the Project tab, but we want to go to the Scene tab, and you can select scenes from here. There's two tabs up the top, Templates and Custom. Template is for all the content that you actually buy from the marketplace and this Reallusion store. Custom is where you save all of your own custom content. Now you can only have one scene on the stage at any given time, and to put a scene on the stage you can either pick a scene from the Content Manager and double click on it, or you can click and drag it onto the stage like so. Now you can use the camera tools to move around the stage. Up here we have the camera tools, which are these three tools here. So this first one will zoom you in and out of your scene. The second tool will move you around the scene. And the third tool actually rotates the scene, but you wouldn't really use that just in general working. That's more for when you're doing recording. And then you've got this button here, which if you click home, it'll take you back to the home position. Or you've got focus object here, which if I select an object on the stage, make sure the selection button is selected, and I go in here and do focus object, focus in on an object, and focus all will focus in on everything that's on the stage, and then we just go back home. And the other camera tool you have available to you is the 3D view tool, and you can see here, once I'm in this view, I can now use the other tools to move around this view, and this is where rotate would come in handy, because I can rotate this and you can see this particular scene is made up of items here, and then there's some further back. So just a note about this 3D view, this is what's called the Z-plane in animation. The Z-plane is the Z coordinate or Z coordinate that you see up here, and you'll see when I move the chair around that the Z coordinate moves forward and backwards. That's pretty much what the Z coordinate is, and up and down is obviously the Y coordinate, and left and right is the X coordinate. And then you just click on the 3D view again to get back to the 2D view. So once you have a scene on the stage, you can see what is in the scene by going to the Scene Manager tab of the Content Manager there. So we've now flipped over to the Scene Manager, and you can see we've got a scene with all of these props in it, and you can actually select items in this list. So you see if I select the back wall, that's now selected, or if I select, say, the plant, that's now selected. If you hold down the control key, you can multi-select things sort of non-consecutively, or if you hold down the shift key, you can multi-select things that are all in a row. And if you wanted to change this scene, but you wanted to keep some of the items from this scene, you can actually take them out by converting them to a prop. So say if I wanted to keep the office chair, the desk, the laptop, pen holder, phone, and the other items that are on the desk there, storage box, I can take them out of the scene by going to the File menu and doing Convert to Prop. And you'll see now all of those items in the Scene Manager are now listed under Props. And if I go through and change the scene by going to the Content Manager, and let's say we go to a template scene, and so I just want to put one of these in. That is now in the scene, and those items that I selected are still there. So we go back to the Scene Manager. Our scene now consists of this one prop, and I still have all of the items from the previous scene listed as props. Now if I wanted to make this a new scene, and just make that a bit bigger so it looks a bit more central, push this back a bit so it's behind the chair. If I wanted to make this a scene and save it out, the first thing I need to do is make all of my props a part of this scene. So I can go through and just select all my props, go into the File menu and do Convert to Scene. Now you can see there are no props in this scene because everything is now listed as part of a scene and not individual props. And to save this scene out, I would go to the Content Manager, go to the Scene tab, which we're already in, but I would go to the Custom tab of the Content Manager, and I would select whatever folder that I wanted to put this in. And to save it, I would just click this plus sign at the bottom here, and you'll see that's now saved my scene, and I can give it a name, so I can call it Desk on Light Background, and that has now saved my scene. So, and say you wanted to make some changes to this scene and then save it again, like say I wanted to move the chair over here, for example, because I didn't want it behind the desk, and now I wanted to save this scene instead of what I saved before. You just make sure where you saved it before you have that file selected, and click the plus button, and you'll be given this box here asking if you want to overwrite the old scene. If you click yes here, that will be overwritten with your new scene. If you click no, it will save it as a new scene and you'll get to rename it again. So I do want to overwrite it, so I'll click yes, and that scene has now been overwritten. So if I wanted to save this scene and it had some props in it, so we'll go to the Scene Manager and convert some of these back to props by going into the File menu and do Convert to Prop. If I wanted to save all that with the props included, I would have to save it as a project, which means going to the Content Manager, selecting the Project tab, and making sure we're on the Custom tab of that. And I'm going to make a new folder for my demonstration videos by going into this little arrow icon here and clicking New Folder. Call this TLA Demo Files. Double click on that. If I wanted to save this, into there. It's the same as saving a scene, but we're now saving it to the project folder. Hit the plus button, we get to give it a name. Just call it example. And we can show that all of that has now been saved by doing new project and then dragging this onto the stage. You can see that's all being saved, and if we look at the scene manager, all the props and things are there. But if I was to save this as a scene and put it in here into the scene tab, what would happen when I click the plus button? Call this example 2. You can see there, and if I show you this now, new project, drag it in, you see the only things that got saved were things that were part of the scene and none of the props. And just to finish up this little section, we've covered this a little bit already. If you want to better organize your props and projects and scenes, you can do so just by selecting the tab that you want to save to and using this little drop down menu here and doing new folder, and that will create folders within whatever category or tab you have selected. So I'll call this just folder example, and then if you want to save into that folder, you just double click on it and click the plus button to save whatever it is you're going to save. So there you go, that was just a quick video to get you started. You should now know about the scene, how to save scenes, how to save projects, a little bit about the difference between props and a scene, and how to organize your files in the Content Manager. So without further ado, let's get on to video 2 in the series, which is the camera, timeline and transition curves. I'll see you in that video.